Well, greetings, sauna enthusiasts. Today on the bench, we welcome Jon Sabes to Sauna Talk. Jon is a successful entrepreneur, founding multiple companies in the health and insurance industries. Jon is a high-performing athlete, competing in several marathons and triathlons, events that just thinking about their rigor makes me want to hit the no thanks button and take the short tour to the sauna bench and cold plunge and hear about the pain later. During our chat, we learn more about his current company, Foxo Technologies, and their work in the scientific field of epigenetics. Epigenetics is cutting-edge science that studies how our genes express due to lifestyle and environmental exposures. Jon's using molecular level analysis and technology to change an insurance industry and improve the health of its customers for the better. Knowing how and why genes express healthy or unhealthy outcomes is going to empower people to make better lifestyle choices to extend their health and longevity. What's interesting and not surprising is that many and most of the leaders and scientists in the field of longevity are into sauna and hot-cold therapy. Dr. David Sinclair, author of Lifespan, is one example. He digs sauna, and just like Jon, you, and me. As it turns out, Hormesis and the body stressors from temperature extremes, thermogenesis, is one of the impactful ways we can strengthen the healthy expression of our DNA. Think of it like exercising your cells at a molecular level. Trigger our cellular muscles with sauna and cold impacts our DNA expression in a very positive way. We talked briefly about the Sauna Research Institute and the early work in which SRI is engaged. Studies are in development, and Jon, as a Sauna Research Institute founding board member, will be helping advance research that will help us better understand why sitting on the bench in our kick-ass saunas, then immersing ourselves in cold water, followed by cool downs in nature, then chilling out with a smile on our faces and feeling so fucking awesome has such a powerful impact on our health and well-being. We know why good sauna is good for us, and it's going to be very interesting to get a better understanding as to why. Though he has built a very successful life for he and his family, Jon is also a deep thinker and philosopher. He keeps himself grounded, centered, and down to earth. He is deeply in tune to nature. I'm including a few photos from Jon's Minneapolis, Minnesota sauna. This is one of several saunas in Jon's portfolio, and it sits along the shores of his Lake Minnetonka property. We would look to share some photos of his other saunas for down the road, but for now, if you go on saunatimes.com and click on the link, you will see the Sabes Sauna in action. I hope the photos of Jon's Minnetonka sauna help give you an idea of its high degree of uncluttered simplicity, clean lines, and open flow. I dig this style of sauna. It is contemporary, yet ageless in its function and design. Jon shares with us more about the sauna building journey, how he and I collaborated to design what guests and sauna aficionados are calling one of the nicest saunas in North America. Jon smiles shyly with the compliment, yet takes more pleasure in its use than its comparative ranking. As Michael Alland is known to say, quote, "The nicest saunas are the ones that get used." I say that good heat is universal. It knows no difference of income or tax bracket. To sauna with Jon, you will experience him diving off his dock after some pull-ups between rounds, then returning from his lake cold plunge in a deep, calm, meditative stage, relaxing in any one of several chill-out zones, either finding himself outside the hot room, on the deck or the dock, or the Zen garden to the left, or the common area to the right of the sauna building. On a side note, Jon's sauna sessions are of duration familiar to many of us, at least a couple hours. During the times I have saunaed with Jon at his Lake Minnetonka sauna, he will bring down from his main house an assortment of fresh fruit, apples, grapes, and a wedge of cheese, and some pretzel snacks. What's crazy is that this is the exact combo I often engage with for my sauna sessions. There's something fitting about this combination. A few light grazing bites between rounds as we drink our mineral water, kombucha, or cold beer is a nice sauna complement. Highly recommended. For more sauna culinary tips, please go to Sauna Times and use the search bar, and you will see some submissions from other sauna enthusiasts on what they enjoy for food and beverage between their sauna or after their sauna sessions. I'm especially pleased how during our Sauna Talk episode, Jon was able to outline a few guiding principles for the design of his sauna. And finally, as you will hear, Jon boldly proclaims what sauna means to him. Sauna will always be an important part of my life. Can you relate? Please welcome Jon Sabes to Sauna Talk. This show is brought to you by Urban Wing. Urban Wing is a Minnesota, USA-based artisan craft shop specializing in custom-designed cedar products. In addition to their best-selling cedar patio heater and umbrella tables, I am a big fan of Urban Wing's elegantly designed, patent-pending knobless sauna vent covers. They are easy to install, give you infinite control over fresh air while sitting on your sauna bench, which drastically helps improve your sauna's ventilation and performance. As readers of Sauna Times are well aware, ventilation is one of the holy trinity elements for good sauna, the other two being heat and steam. Also, a great gift for the sauna lover could be a pair of Urban Wing's Sauna Times collaborated backrests. The cool thing about these traditional style backrests is that they can be configured a few different ways: upright for sitting and long ways for laying down on the bench. Additionally, the Sauna Pro can lock one backrest into the other, creating a relaxed recline, which has been known to increase your bench time and reduce low bench Larry tendencies by 15%. I've sat in hundreds of different saunas, and these backrests nail it. To learn more about these Urban Wing products and to order, please visit www.urbanwingco.com. 100% of the proceeds of your purchase go to a former corporate soldier who is building a craft business where he never has to fill out a TPS report again. www.urbanwingco.com. Now on to the show. So, we're back on the bench. Sauna Talk is back on the bench. And you know, as I think about it, this is really where Sauna Talk was born, is the idea of just a couple people sitting on the bench and able to do an interview in a kind of a longer format, open, sweating and cool downs and just chit chat. So it's great to be on the bench today with Jon Sabes. Jon, I don't know where to begin about our chat today. Maybe a good spot would be where we're sitting right now. And if you could, for our audience, just describe where we're sitting and what we're looking at.
Hi, we're on the bench. Like Glenn said, we're looking out over Wayzata Bay in a sauna that Glenn and I co-designed. We worked on that a couple of years ago and dreamt it into reality. So we're just sitting feet from the shores of Lake Minnetonka. Yeah. And it's just gorgeous.
Gorgeous afternoon, and the lapping of the water is right by this large picture window that we put in. It's what, 5x6?
5x5.
5x5 in the hot room.
Oh, no, 5x6. You're right. That is 5x6.
5x6. Yeah, I remember. And this sauna was designed with a nice runway to it. We could maybe talk about when you first realized you wanted a sauna here. So that was a couple of years ago, anyway, 3 years probably, that when you first said, okay, I have this place on Lake Minnetonka, and you were committed to putting a sauna, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we met and I was reintroduced to sauna in the way in which you've been so great to promote and expose people to, which was in Minnesota to have an outdoor sauna to get you outside. I was just blown away. At the time, I just bought this property and was contemplating, what we were going to do and how we were going to develop it. But it was so clear that, oh my God, the opportunity to put a sauna next to the lake at this house that I had just built was beyond a dream come true. And I think it resonated well with you in terms of what your visions were for what sauna can and should be, what it should look like, what it has the possibility to do and fulfill, an amazing part of your life. And that's certainly done it here.
Yeah, man.
Certainly
Exactly.
done it here.
It's if you have water, access to water, and are by a shoreline, it is the spot for sauna. That's just peanut butter and jelly. It's right there. So you had that aha moment. And what did we do next? What was the thing that we did on this property to help advance the concept?
Well, we brought a temporary sauna here. Glenn, you and Eric had been working on this idea of temporary mobile saunas, and we brought one here, and we had it here for 2 years. Yeah. We had it for the first year when this place was just kind of a vague construction site.
Yeah, there was like piles of building material all over, and we didn't give a shit. You weren't living here.
No.
There was nothing going on here, but we brought the sauna in while your house was really under reconstruction.
Yeah, so we started playing with the sauna on site to experience what it was going to be, and then we got close. Then we took the next step. The next year we took a different mobile sauna. We moved it in closer to the position of where this one was going to be, and then ultimately we just played with it for 2 years. I mean, we had so much fun over the winters. I mean, there's probably still some very memorable Instagram posts from our friends at Harvey and
the Mindstrong. We had pro players out here a couple of times, pro athletes, and Harvey Martin. We did a lot of breath work, and in winter was really the time. I mean, those were 2 winters that we spent with a mobile sauna on your property.
Yeah,
with full intent to build a brick and mortar completed sauna.
Yeah,
but no urgency.
No. And that was also, you and I talked about that, which is the art of the build. And I know everyone wants to have their sauna now, and that's all good. But
that's right. And so it's that spirit that you were alluding to there, John, about don't rush it.
Right. So and the idea, still, this is incomplete. My bench in the cool down room isn't done yet, but that's okay, and I guess patience is something I've really come to enjoy and appreciate, particularly during COVID and everything else getting more complicated in life. Having patience and allowing time to explore things to really optimize your build. And I think that's an important thing to think about when you're building.
Beautiful.
Anything.
Well said. Yeah, and you had the luxury of a sauna. It wasn't like you were deprived of sauna during the patience process of this sauna. And I think that's a cool lesson too, and that if you're really into sauna, there's no harm in deploying a mobile sauna for a little while until you really figure it out.
Yeah, I would really encourage anyone, regardless, to explore mobile saunas. Put it in your driveway for a winter. See how it changes your life, your winter, and before you just rush in and build something. I mean, I think first of all, it'll show up the next day, and you'll have the greatest time of your life, I think.
I know. Let's talk about that. Well, I want to come back to your enjoyment of sauna and what it means to you, let's get a little closure on the chronology of the build. We're almost to that. So you the mobile sauna was pulled out, and you replaced the mobile sauna with like really drilling into the footprint, and use some carpenter string and stakes.
Yeah, so that's one thing we talk about, which is this idea that you really, and this goes to anything, stake it out. You physically stake out where you're going to build, and we did a lot with that, and we set chairs down where the bench would be. We marked clearly where the window would be. We tried to get up at the right elevations on the bench, so you really understood that. That was, and it allowed us to really fine tune exactly what this view was going to be.
Right on.
And that served us well.
Really well, and experiencing it in different times of the day as well.
Yeah.
You think about when you like to sauna. What time? Are you a morning sauna guy, or do you?
I'm an evening. I'm a sunset sauna. We're sitting on the, easterly shoreline, so that means we get a westerly sunset. We have a westerly view, and so I just love sitting out and as the sun goes down, and really that hour post sunset to me is the magic hour.
The golden hour.
The golden hour, and I love that. So
I hear. Have you been to Coachella?
I've not done Coachella yet. No.
Because they talk
Burning Man or Coachella.
I got it. They talk about the golden hour, and they slot bands. At least my brother and I believe this to be the case. They slot certain bands, and whoever gets that golden hour really is like because the night shows are the big bands and stuff, but the golden hour is really magical, where the mountain just pops behind you and it's cooler, and it's good. So 8 by, what is this, 8 by 20?
8 by 20, yeah, I think so. Sorry, I'm blanking because we're designing a couple other saunas, but and that's why I messed up on the window size. But I think it's 8 by 20.
Yeah.
It's a container, so it's actually the exact dimensions, 8 by 8 by 20, which is a container dimension.
Beautiful.
The other thing too, I always wanted to build something with a container. Now this isn't built using a container, but I was always, and still am to this day, intrigued with using a shipping container as your baseline structure. And it turns out this is actually a shipping container config. And so I can tell you that a shipping container config works perfect for a 7x7 sauna and a nice cool down room. It is perfect.
It is perfect. Yeah, because your cool down space is, if I were to cube it exactly, almost double or pretty close to double.
Yeah,
so
this is 7, this is 13.
Yeah,
so
like a nice 2-to-1 ratio. Well, great. So that's super. To summarize for you listening here that are thinking about building your own, or the other thing that I see, even though we have a sauna, sometimes the best sauna that in our minds is the one we're going to build next or thinking of build. So it's been really cool to see a lot of people that start with a sauna and then can build their next sauna off of it.
I'm not a designer or per se, but the great thing is I use PowerPoint and I do my own designs really with PowerPoint. It's just squares and it's been fun to get into that. So anyone can do it.
Yeah, or a pencil. I use pencil and graph paper mostly.
Yeah.
And that's good for you. And so this is your first sauna. Are there more in your future, Johnny?
Well, they're everywhere I'm going to be. So so without, yes, everywhere I go, this is a permanent part of my life for sure. I don't want to be without it. Ever. Again, ever. Yeah. And this is a 3 to 4 night a week ritual. Yeah. And I want that for the rest of my life.
Amen. Well said. And that's a perfect transition. I want to get back to that element. What is sauna? How has it changed how you roll, how you operate, how you think, how you relax? Can you give us a little framework of how your life is different now with sauna in your life?
It's almost immeasurably different in a good way, and I have a hard time quantifying it or even describing it. I just feel better. it does something to me that nothing else does. And I've exercised crazy. I do long distance, ultra, this, that, everything else. I mean, I've been a student of physiology, and yet this, and I've been in saunas all my life, but being outside, having this externally facing to the elements sauna experience has added something to my life that is immeasurably better than before.
Right on. Right. And do you like to work out before sauna? Do you have like this sort of? Tell us a little bit about how it fits in with your life, like in terms of the scheduling your days and stuff.
Yeah, I don't have like I said, it's usually an evening event, and I really don't have, I kind of just go with the flow. That's a little bit of steam. That's kind of how I roll generally. I just go with the flow. But look, if I've worked out, it's great. It puts a lot of blood and movement through my system. If I haven't, it just relaxes me. I mean, it just does everything for me. It's a workout in and of itself in a really unique physiology sort of way. And when we're doing it on breaks, I got weights right here, and I got a pull-up bar on the, hitting some of that.
And you're no stranger to the cold.
Well, no, I grew up in Minnesota and everything, so you kind of get that as part of your blood. But I love the cold. I love the hot-cold mixture of it all too.
Right on. And so Jon, you live here in Minnesota. We'll talk a little bit about Austin in a second, but you'll be off to Austin soon, and yet you're committed to coming back to Minnesota in winter. And why here in winter? What's your commitment to coming back to Minnesota?
Well, I mean, there's just nothing like it, really. I mean, in terms of true North winter, and I love bold North. I love that aspect of Minnesota. There's very few places in the United States where you're going to get the same. So, I'm planning for a winter holiday, second week of February for a couple of weeks here, where we're going to be doing a retreat. And Glenn, you'll be here. We're inviting in some scientists to talk about health and wellness and the science of it. And we're setting up, to do, our Sauna Research Institute. That's something, SRI is something we're going to support and lean into. But, cross-country skiing on Lake Minnetonka, taking a sauna and a cold plunge through the ice. I don't.
So when you're in the Austin airport, ready to board, what will you, in thinking about this winter trip back home, back to Lake Minnetonka, back to this sauna, the hole in the ice, we'll have a tent out there. What will make you smile, like, most broadly about what you'd be looking forward to with this winter retreat?
Well, just the whole white, everything covered in white. I mean, when people talk about, what's it like? I said, what is heaven supposed to be like? Everything's white. So just imagine being in heaven, religious or not. I mean, it's just not trying to do that, but it's the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. And so I'm looking most forward to sitting here with everything white, with a winter sunset when the sky goes pink and blue, and
we'll be taking round 2 or round 3, and you'll toss some water on the rocks.
Yep.
You can hit that right.
It'll sound like this.
Right on. So there's 2 things I want to ask you, 2 subjects really. The first is, we'll call it your day job, and the second is, you alluded to Sauna Research Institute. I'd love to chat a little on that, but let's start chronologically first. If you could tell listeners about your upbringing, your business life, and the development of it, and where we're at today. Could you?
I'm an entrepreneur in serial at that. Come from a family of entrepreneurs, and I've been doing a lot of different things over my career, mostly around financial services, and built a really interesting, quite successful company. Took it from startup to over $500 million market cap, $3 billion in assets. Really focused on crossing the ledger of longevity, health, investments in financial services and products. And so that's been my the mainstay of my career over the last 10 years, and I'm now working on taking that to a whole new level in my next venture.
So you sold that company, right?
I sold my interest in the company, and I stepped off of it as CEO and chairman, and I, as part of that transaction, I took over a subsidiary that I had been incubating, and that was working to commercialize new technology around molecular bioscience on human longevity. And so I took that over. We've been capitalizing that company, growing it, and really we're applying that science, molecular biotechnology broadly, to the life insurance industry. And I find it to be just absolutely a fabulous, fun, fascinating journey.
Yeah, great. And you started this with your previous company that you founded. And what was the initial light bulb for you to recognize the relationship between epigenetics and the science coming forward and in the field that you mentioned, the life insurance area and life longevity? I mean, what was a light bulb moment for you that this would be your next move?
The light bulb was the epigenetic clock discovered at UCLA by Dr. Steve Horvath. So this epigenetic clock, I had been doing all sorts of research around genetics, telomeres, other aspects of known factors in human longevity. And when I became aware of the discovery of the epigenetic clock and read the work of Steve Horvath, I saw that that was something entirely different. And so that was the light bulb. I emailed Steve Horvath. He took a meeting with me. I sat down and I spoke to him. I said, so let me understand this epigenetic clock. If someone's clock is running faster, their biological clock, their epigenetic clock is running faster than their chronological age or aging, well, do they have a higher risk of mortality, all-cause mortality, you know what it's called in the jargon in the industry? And he's like, absolutely yes. And I'm like, okay. Well, have you ever heard of a little industry called the life insurance industry? Because it's all built off of predicting generally how long people will live around all-cause mortality. And he said, no, what's that? And I said, oh, well, it's just a little business opportunity. And so that was it. And what was interesting, Steve Horvath, I think he's joined this new company called Altos Labs, which is being funded by Jeff Bezos. And it is the longevity science company of the preeminent. And, you know, when you have all the money in the world and everything else, what's the only thing you don't have, which is extended longevity, time. And so, not surprisingly, the richest man in the world is funding companies to extend his own human longevity, his own self-interest.
He's got his own skin in the game, or reasons.
Right? So self-interest is a pretty good driver for goal achievement. Anyways, so Horvath, sorry, I make mention of this only because you're going to hear more about it, Altos Labs. So he just joined that commercially. But what Horvath, because they're trying to extend life. And so I said to him at that very first meeting, I said, so the inverse of trying to figure out how to extend life is learning what people die from. And I think that's the things like smoking. And he said, yeah, I could tell you when someone smoked, how much they smoked, when they smoked last, through this science of epigenetics. And I go, really? Well, that's interesting too, because when you apply for life insurance, after they ask you if you're a male or a female, the next question is, do you smoke or not? So suddenly that had a whole different application of this science that I really didn't intend to find. And then the light bulb really went off, which is, geez, this body of epigenetic science can do things and predict risk factors that life insurance carriers look for when underwriting a life insurance product. And that's the eureka moment.
Very cool. So John, for the listeners, what is epigenetics?
So epigenetics is all about gene expression. Your genes, your DNA sequence is what you're born with, right? That's the code, the sequence of A, C, T, and G, four proteins that make up your entire genetic code. But that code gets expressed to, and that code is the same in every single cell of your body. It's one of the most interesting facts is in every single cell, you're probably about 30 trillion cells right now, and every one of those cells is the exact, and the nucleus is the chromosomes, and in the chromosome is the DNA. And the DNA is the exact same sequence of the first cell you were born with mom and dad. So the question then is, well, how does one cell decide to become a fingernail and another one an eye, your brain, etc.? And that is gene expression, right? So there's a mechanism by which the actual DNA unravels to expose the code to transcribe the code into proteins. And so gene expression, that's called gene expression. Well, along the top of the genome is the epidermis, the epi, or the epigenome. And it turns out that that gene expression, not surprisingly, is highly impacted by if you smoke tobacco or not, right? So, and actually what happens is a chemical tag. It's called a methyl group, methylation. That chemical tag is tagging along this epigenome, and it's causing the gene to express. And so while you smoke, you're dropping methylation onto your epigenome, which is causing gene malfunction. And gene malfunction, generally speaking, is disease. And so that's the science of epigenetics. It's the science of gene expression. And we're just on the cusp, or we've been on the cusp for the last sort of, several years about understanding how this all works. It's a, kind of a relatively new field in scientific understanding of biological systems.
Awesome. And the interesting thing also is that through lifestyle choices, we can change the expression of our DNA. Is that right?
That's it. Yeah, and that's kind of the whole gist of it, which is while our genetics, says a lot about who we are, it's clearly not who we are today or who we can become. We have much more control over that gene expression than previously thought. So this whole idea has been really debunked that you are what you are born with. No, you are what you decide you want to be, and that is the nature of the biology.
And that's profound. It changes that when we become aware of that science and that knowledge. It kind of changes how we act and how we can think about our place on this earth.
I think so. I think
in an optimistic way.
I think so. I mean, it certainly did it for me. It was kind of like a missing link in the 7th grade biology class, which is okay. I got it. Basic biology, and I always understood that, smoking's bad for you, but I really never understood, well, what's the mechanism by which it's bad for me? I mean, I know it would fill up my lungs with tar. Mm-hmm. Okay, but tell me more, And so it actually gives you a much better understanding, kind of a missing piece in just sort of general logic on what's happening, what's going on around this body of ours. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I guess what I'm getting at is it's also like very liberating in a way, very positive in a way to think that we can draw some short straws based on my father died of this at this age, heart disease, and my mother this and that. But we can make choices in how we live our lives to live healthier lives.
I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah, and sauna could be part of that.
Well, I think it is. I mean, one of the most popular scientists in the field of epigenetics, biological aging, is a doctor by the name of Dr. Sinclair, David Sinclair. He wrote a book called Lifespan. So in that book, it's a fabulous book. I highly recommend it. It's a great read, and it talks about longevity and lifespan and health span and how does this all work. And David's hypothesis really is that it's the loss of information. It's the loss of this methylation, this programming that happens. So there's an expression that says it's not one thing that kills you, it's everything that kills you ultimately. That's called all-cause mortality. All causes kill you. And disease and aging should be thought of and looked at as a disease. And so David's hypothesis, and it's, you know, contentious, but it's got a lot of traction, which is there's pattern of methylation that occurs that holds cellular stability, degrades over time. And so as it degrades, the cells lose their stability. And that leads to disease, leads to aging. And so he's working, and he's a big proponent and friends with this Dr. Steve Horvath and the epigenetic clock, because that epigenetic clock is measuring the degradation of your pattern of methylation. Right. And that's why it works. That's why it works so well, because it's like, well, what's going on? The cells are losing their information, their instructions on gene expression, and they start malfunctioning. And that malfunction is disease.
Amazing. And he's into sauna.
Yes. So he wrote a book called Lifespan, a great book, and he talks a lot about sauna, hot-cold therapy, thermogenesis, and how sauna triggers a reaction at a molecular level. It's a fight or flight response that's actually happening at a molecular level that's causing, I got to think of it not big like I'm sweating here, but think of it as in terms of molecules, that those molecules are fighting the heat resistance right now, and that's strengthening the integrity of the information.
Beautifully said. It's a stressor.
Yes. Yes.
And cold is also, it's the same but opposite. Opposite but the same, yeah?
Yes. So we want to stress our biological systems at a molecular level to strengthen the integrity of the data that holds the cellular stability at I guess it's homeostasis.
Yeah.
You want to stay at homeostasis. Yeah. You don't want to degrade. You don't want to lose. Your aging is a cellular. I look worse, sorry, than I did when I was 30. I'm aging. That's I'm losing my biological stability.
So what's the percent chance, Johnny, that you will be on the sauna bench with Dr. David Sinclair at some point in your life?
Well, I hope I am at some point. You know, there's a bunch of guys and gals. Rhonda Patrick, a great researcher, big proponent of hot-cold therapy. David Sinclair. There's also I'll call autodidactic learners. I'll probably get blasted for the Joe Rogan or Tim Ferriss or a whole bunch of other guys and gals who have kind of picked this up, and even Laird Howells at the
big wave surfer.
Big wave surfer, and so there's a whole bunch of folks who have really picked this up and are promoting it and supporting it and believing in it, and I'm in the crowd.
Right on. Lovely. Let's talk about good sauna, John. I mean, you've experienced health club saunas. You've experienced different types of saunas. The sauna we're sitting in here. Are you an aficionado when it comes to good heat? Would you say? And what does good heat mean to you?
I'm not, but I am only through your education of that. But this is a wood burning sauna, Kuma stove, amazing. Shout out to the folks at Kuma. This is a wood burning stove, and I'm a proponent, and I know Glenn, you are, of a wood burning as opposed to others. But that doesn't make others bad, so just don't misinterpret it. I love the wood burning. I love the simplicity, frankly, of setting this stove up and turning it on. It's one of the few things in life that I don't have a switch, a click, a button, a password. A password. I mean, I can just focus on it, and it really is an engine, and it provides a high density heat. And on this particular stove, we've got a sidecar of water. I'd say that's about 6, maybe 7 gallons of water, and that holds a lot of heat in that water. It's saddled up next to the stove, so I like that a lot. I love the ability to kind of, again, I don't know the Finnish word, but to splash the stones gently in a way.
Lolu, yeah.
Lolu. doesn't overwhelm you, but it embodies you and it pulls out more.
Yeah. So a good sauna, the lolu, it penetrates you. It doesn't burn your ears and run you to the door. When you feel that good lolu, it's like instead of ow.
Sometimes it's ow if you really want to apply that water thoughtfully, and that's kind of have patience with your water. Don't do things.
You've been a quick study about good sauna. You understand. I remember, Johnny, we would sauna and we would talk ventilation, and I'd be like, wow, I've been sauning with people for 10, 15 years and they're not picking up on this. You were a quick study to sauna. To good sauna, to really great heat, did it come naturally to you, or were you just
probably goes back to my fascination with fires as a kid, and Cub Scouts and building good campfires, and you recognize that you need ventilation for a good fire, for good heat. Being locked up in something that doesn't breathe is not a comfortable place. And so, when you introduced me to the very aspects, whether it's your under the door sweep to vent your sauna, to the stove itself and its various venting mechanisms, to the upper level vents and how that airflow can serve an improved sauna experience. And so that wasn't, to me, necessarily like rocket science. It was just paying attention to the details and embracing it and God, what a great sauna.
No doubt. A great sauna has an attention toward heat, steam, and ventilation. And this is a perfect example of a great sauna. And, you take the top sauna snobs of the world and bring them in here, and they will exit the hot room with a smile on their face, Johnny.
If you say so.
Yeah, right.
Your lips there. Look, going back to your question, I hope someday to share the bench here with David Sinclair, if you're out there listening. You got an invite, Rhonda, you got an invite, Laird, you got an invite, and Joe and Tim, you all got invites. We're running we founded the Sauna Research Institute for the sole reason of promoting and supporting scientific research related to hot-cold therapy. And, I want to study it on a molecular level relative to the things that I'm doing, frankly, with my company, and it's my hobby, and it's the thing I most love. So look for more details of that. We're just getting going, and we're patient. We're no hurry. We know you're going to want to come here because in February, we're 35 minutes away from the airport, and there's no experience quite like it in the world.
Amen, brother. You got that invite from Jon Sabes, the owner here of the Lake Minnetonka.
Well, and a board member of Sauna Research. That's a formal invite from Sauna Research Institute. Let's be clear.
And two of the four board members are sitting on the bench right now. Yeah. And Dr. Jari Laukkanen will certainly pass the motion that any of the said potential attendees would like to come. And I know Mindstrong Harvey will be here too, doing some of his great work, his breath work. And Mindstrong Harvey, shout out to what he has done in growing his training system for pro athletes, and that edge through breathing and hot-cold therapy has been a great blend for the Sauna Research Institute, because we're, as Johnny mentioned here, we're on the cusp of some really cool research. And so the diversity of the members on the board with what they do in their day jobs is a consciousness to our founding board. So shout out on that.
Amen.
Yeah. Thanks for being with us on Sauna Talk. I'd like to leave us, if we could. I know we're ready for a cold lake plunge here in a moment. Let's see if we can knock off a couple rapid fire questions.
Sure, you got it.
All right, man. So today was a sauna day for you, and you sauna about how many times a week?
3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah. So when you wake up and you know it's a sauna day, from that moment, to the looking forward to it, to coming down, you talked about the tactile experience of lighting the stove, and I'm setting the stage, setting in round one, first load, first steam, first cold plunge. Is there a moment, generally that shines the brightest for you through the sauna process?
So you're asking me to pick a favorite, and once you get to know me, I can't do favorites. Yeah. So to me, it's the entirety of the thing. Yeah. And so I think about every piece of it. and I enjoy every moment of it throughout. So that's how I think of it.
From the anticipation of to the
experience, to the setup and preparing the room, to setting the fire, to getting the temp up, to my friends arriving or myself entering my first sesh, to the intermittent breaks and what I do between them and how I continue to center myself throughout that session, till the end where I finish and I go to sleep. And man, let me tell you, if you've had good sauna like this, there's nothing like sleep. This thing sets you to sleep like nothing. So if you've ever had a hard time going to sleep, we've prescribed the antidote. Go for it.
Yeah, man. Lovely. We had a mobile sauna here, as we talked about, and you know mobile sauna very well. If you could bring a mobile sauna anywhere in the world, what's the first place that comes to mind, and fire it up much like you described and enjoy a sauna session?
Your driveway, because that's the easiest place and the place you'll use it the most. Beyond that, pick your most favorite scenic overlook that some park ranger or DNR rep isn't going to chase you out of. And pack it up with firewood and go.
Yeah, right.
So that would be the other place. That'd be my other place.
Well said. Lovely, lovely. And who would you, if you, again, in this sauna fantasy world of who would you like to sit on the sauna bench with? Someone past, present, dead, alive. Anyone come to mind?
Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah.
And Think and Grow Rich. What's his name?
What was his name?
Think and Grow Rich.
McAllister or something?
No. Put pause and I'll hit it.
Yeah. Yep.
Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. He wrote the book, but it's a speech he gave in 1953 in Chicago. It's in his own voice. To me, that fundamentally changed my life about goal setting, goal achievement, how to get what you want out of life. So
nice.
Yeah, I'd really love to sit with Napoleon. Abraham Lincoln, because come on.
Yeah.
And
great choices. And there's enough room for 3 on the bench. So and last question for you, Johnny. So what do you now? We're in Minnesota. I'm staging this. You really got the good heat down. We know what jumping into a cold lake is all about. It was so, right here in the center. What do you think about, as you think about the rise and popularity of sauna, what do you think is most misunderstood that you'd like others maybe that aren't experiencing this, would want to know? Like, what's most misunderstood in your eyes about sauna?
I think people fail to understand how it can, if you love the outdoors, I think people fail to understand how sauna gets you outdoors more often. I always say when we're together thinking of myself, I'm the only one on this whole lake right now, standing on the dock, jumping in the water. And it is marvelous. So how much it gets you outside. So if you love being outside, it just enhances it by magnitude of gratefulness.
Right on, brother. I'm going to let you send out the Sauna Talk. I really appreciate visiting with you on the bench. It's overdue. We've talked about it for a while, and thank you for being a guest on Sauna Talk. Any final words or thoughts for listeners to the podcast?
No, just thank you, Glenn, for your guidance and support, and to everyone else out there who finds the same. So thanks, Glenn.